have rain going over the same areas repeatedly through the day, and that could cause the possibility of flooding for us. 5 to 8 inches, that's what we could see, especially south of I-37, between I-37, I-35, and north of Brownsville. That's where the heaviest rain will fall. And of course, those waves are going to be rocking and rolling this morning, but as this pulls inland, we'll start to see that taper off. So tomorrow, you should be able to get back out on the boat and enjoy your day here on the water with no problem. But there is that rip current risk. It is very high for us here from Rockport all the way down to South Padre Island, Port Mansfield, all of these areas. No strangers to hurricanes. But Jordan, if people are visiting or maybe new to the area, please take this seriously.
Good advice.
In the country, Kansas City Public Schools will actually release students early from all schools for the rest of the week due to heat. So you want to check out your school for your new release times, and it's all thanks to this high pressure. This is what directed Hillary into California. This is what's directing Harold through the Gulf of Mexico, and it's also what's giving us very warm, excessive, obnoxiously hot, dangerous temperatures in the center of the country. We're talking heat indices into the 120s, even 130s we saw yesterday. Today we could see the 120s in the center of the country. That's with the humidity. Just on the thermometer alone, we are going to break records. Not only break records, we could smash records by 5, 6, 7 degrees here. And notice today we see 98 in Minneapolis. That's what it says on the thermometer, but with the heat index, it's going to feel like it's in the 1-teens. Kansas City, we're talking 1-teens, and I'll tell you what, into eastern Kansas, some places could feel like they're in the 120s. It's just brutal and it's dangerous. Heat exhaustion, heat stroke, heat cramps, that can all happen here when you're in that 103, 120 range. Tomorrow, more warmth, just right into the Great Lakes, really up into Canada. More record heat across the board. And we're breaking records that have been standing for over 100 years in some spots. Chicago, we're going to have to deal with a high on Wednesday of 99. The heat index will be above 100. And then, Jim, though, we do have some cooler air taking us back to average on Friday.
That is a nice.
We are tracking newly minted Tropical Storm Harold on America's Morning headquarters. Tropical storm warning stretches for nearly 200 miles along the South Texas Gulf Coast from Port O'Connor to the mouth of the Rio Grande. And the primary threat will be flooding, with widespread rainfall totals reaching 3 to 5, even 5 to 8 inches across the South Texas area. Isolated amounts possible, and our winds gusting maybe up to 60 miles an hour could topple trees and bring down power lines. Let's go to Jim Cantori to talk about that, too, because that wind, Jim, will also cause coastal flooding and kick up the surf as well.
Yeah, I mean, you saw
this heat dome, it's just firmly in place. This is giving us clear skies. That makes it feel warmer. The air is being suppressed under it. That warms it. This is actually one of the most intense highs we've ever seen in the U.S., if not record-setting. Everyone's looking at the data right now. There's a potential that this is a record-setting high. That's how strong it is. You're saying yes already? It's been confirmed? I know. Okay. Cantori's saying it's been confirmed. 603 is the number we had?
Yeah, 60-30 decameters. Very deep, very tall.
Very, very intense high pressure over the center of the country. And so we have all sorts of heat advisories. Not only are records going to be broken, but we are going to see them crushed. Look at Wichita, for instance. We are going to break our record potentially by 8 degrees. Usually you break it by 1, 2, maybe 3, but when you're talking 5, 8 degrees, that is significant. Highs today are going to be in the triple digits, and you have heat indices into the 1-teens, 120s in the center of the country. And tomorrow, more of the same. It takes until Friday, Jim, till some of us get relief. Not all of us will, just some of us.
All right, meteorologist.
And someone who will be there is meteorologist Mike Bettis, who has been live in Texas in Corpus Christi. And, Mike, I know that this area is very familiar with tropical storms, with hurricanes. Have you seen preparations going on down there?
Honestly, very few. Even because
Mike, and we can hear that wind picking up in your microphone, see your jacket flapping a little bit, and that's what we expect as we head through the day, of course, with some heavier downpours too. Let's have a look at the city timing on when exactly Harold's going to be blowing through and giving us the worst of the weather Here are those bands that we were talking about. There's Corpus, where Mike is, a little bit of dry air getting in. Right now, there's your dry air into Corpus, but you see those stronger showers have moved inland already. Coastal flood warnings, coastal flood advisories, and what causes the waves? What causes that water rise? Water rise. Well, it is the wind that does it. That helps push everything along for us here. 1 to 3 foot surge, so just a little bit of that water coming up for us. But through the morning, we will see the rain going through South Texas. By this evening, the coast is going to start to clear out. And then tomorrow morning, we'll see some showers, mainly into West Texas is where they will be located. Maybe a few stray showers here along the coast. But the heaviest rain this will be a morning event. I know some schools are on delay for us. As we head throughout 9, 10, the lunchtime hour, things do start to clear out. Wouldn't be shocked if you saw a little sunshine. We'll probably still have some clouds here and a few bands streaming in north of this area. But things are going to start to quiet down for us and mainly be into West Texas. And then it will continue along the southern portion of that ridge and keep going. Really, all the energy is just going around this ridge. It's pretty wild. Severe thunderstorms are possible all the way northbound to San Antonio. Watch for maybe a little spin up here. But flooding, I think, is going to be one of the biggest issues. We could see rainfall rates 1 inch or more an hour and going over the same areas. And that means that you are going to potentially see some flooding. All right, let's go back to meteorologist Mike Bettis. You have an update for us, Mike?
Sure, we're getting some of these thunderstorm bands that are some of the good thunderstorms.
As well, along with the rain blowing in your face.
A little bit. Maybe that's why it's so hard to see this morning, but this is impressive. This is what these individual bands will do, right? The rainfall rates are extreme right now.
Cantori wants me to tell you that he thinks he sees your hat on radar flying inland with the winds
it's there
on this.
somewhere in the storm, right? I'll find it. It's here somewhere.
All right, Bettis, go find your hat, put on your rain pants maybe, and take a breather from that. At least it's calmed down a little bit there. But Jordan, it shows you how quickly that comes on, and then you get a break, and then you get another round that will come through.
It was so calm the entire morning.
Kansas, the entire state is going to be hot. Kansas City Public Schools will release students early from all schools for the rest of the week due to the heat. And so that just tells you how long it's going to last. Check with your school to find those new release times. Big ridge in place. This is right in the center of the country. This is what directed Hillary into California, Harold into Texas, and it is also causing this. It's just obnoxiously, dangerously hot here, not only in the South, but also into the Midwest and the Plains, too. We are crushing old records from the 30s, from the 40s, from the 80s. And not only are we breaking them, some of them could be broken by 6, 7, even 8 degrees. That is massive. We are seeing highs today in the 90s and triple digits. Chicago, we're above average. Our average is 82, but we're only in the upper 80s. That's nothing relative to what's coming. Kansas City, look at that. The 1 teens will be above 100, feeling like 100, starting at really 10, 11 this morning, lasting all the way until the sun sets for us. So that means that you could get heat cramps, heat exhaustion. It's really, really dangerous that all the heat that we're dealing with. Tomorrow, that's when it gets into Chicago, Indianapolis in the 90s, and of course, it'll feel even hotter than that. Record-setting temps, once again, breaking them from the 40s. They've been lasting some 70-plus years, 75 years for some of us here, like in Waterloo, Iowa. When we come back, we're going to check back in with Mike Bettis. Is moving right towards South Texas. The question is, when is it going to make landfall? It should be earlier this morning, but that center of circulation is so broad.
Yeah, it's just not very, very well defined, but the bands have had a little bite to them.
Oh, they have.
Just to ask meteorologist Mike Bettis, who joins us live from Corpus Christi, Texas. Mike, we are so happy that you found your hat once again, because when it came off your head, man, we thought it was halfway to
Gone
Brownsville
for good,
by now. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that thing was over in Laredo or something. I was like, I'm going to get a cowboy hat now to cover my head. But that's the nature of these bands, right?
Delay, and they're asking folks to just kind of stay off the roads. It's been a minute since it's rained there, hasn't it?
Oh, you better believe it. Listen, we've had no rain so far.
Like, maybe you can find something to clean out that storm drain for the people there so they don't run into any flooding.
Good idea.
You know, we'll check back with you, see how that goes coming up a little bit later.
We'll work on that.
Yeah, I bet you will. All right, let's have a look at the tropics because that's not the only player in town.
No, there's a few things I want to talk about in through here. Franklin, of course, there was a mission out there earlier. The only mission that's now leaving is coming back from Harold, and there'll be another one going out a little bit later on. But these are the two things we want to talk about. But Franklin, look at where the deepest convection is.
Yeah, and why do you think that is? Why do you see everything blown off? Shear. Yeah, that always blows it off.
A little shear, which is good. It'll keep it at bay. You can see it core cutting right in through here. It's still about 25 knots over the top of this. But this is going to slow and start turning toward the Dominican. But what's interesting, Steph, is you look at the track now in the cone, it takes it over the less high side of the Dominican.
Right, because it's what, 10,000 feet is the highest point there, you know?
So there's a look at it. And this is going to be kind of a Wednesday impact. So we go from potentially 65 to 45. But then, interestingly enough, we got ourselves a hurricane into early next week.
Yeah, and Jim wants to see where it goes past that.
I think it starts to drift west, because the first trough bypasses it and the subtropical ridge builds it and pushes it west. But is there going to be another system that eventually carries it on out?
Right.
We have to watch that. So here it is here. You can see it coming across the Dominican and then moving toward the north. And quickly, what is that?
Another piece of energy.
Something the European is watching that is in this vicinity that I think we need to watch as we get into early next week, because depending on where this is, Steph, it could come north or it could go west.
By the way, Franklin.
That's Franklin.
Most of the models have it staying out to sea and not interacting with the United States.
Let's hope that's the case, right? For both of these. Let's hope they don't really impact the United States. All right, guys, much more to come here, including live reports from Mike and an upgrade from the Hurricane Center.
Of high pressure. This is actually record-setting dome of high pressure. You can look and notice how many advisories are posted from Colorado all the way to West Virginia, down to the Gulf Coast, and also into the Great Lakes. Today, we're going to be smashing records, some that have been standing since 1934, some since the 40s, even the 80s. Everything is going down. And by the way, we're going to crush it by 5, 6, 7, even maybe 8 degrees, which just tells you how serious this is. Usually you break a record by like 1 degree, 2 degrees. But when you're talking about 6, 7, 8 degrees, it is smashing. So the heat, Nashville, Atlanta, Mobile, all the way back into Denver, Rapid City. I think these are the points, though. Look at Chicago's going to feel like 94. Minneapolis, we're not used to feeling like 113 here. Lincoln feeling like 112. Rapid City like 100 degrees. So much humidity in the atmosphere. Tomorrow, our heat indices, again, the 1-teens, maybe even 120s for some. Chicago is going to feel like 111. I mean, Mobile and Chicago are basically going to be feeling the same. And they're how many, miles apart from each other? Tomorrow, more record-setting heat, record-tying heat for us from Alabama to Mississippi, Louisiana, and it's not just the highs, it's also those overnight lows. It expands. Look at Thursday, 105 million will be feeling our temperatures 95 or above. You can see it expands east and also into the Central Valley there, Jim, of California.
Yeah, this necessarily will depend on where we are in the squalls.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
In terms of the strongest winds.
And Mike Bettis has firsthand knowledge of that. Let's check back in with him, who is in Corpus Christi. And Mike, a little bit earlier, you had one of those big squalls come through, and now it's just like, I wouldn't say a great day at the beach, but it seems all is super quiet for you.
Well, it's interesting how that works, right, Steph? I think since
and that one, of course, was known for all the rain and how it just sat over Texas. Came in as a Cat 4, though, around Port Lavaca area, if my memory is correct with that one. Let's have a look at the timing with Harold, because the names, they rotate every 6 years. So Harold probably won't get retired. That's my initial first guess with this. So if it doesn't get retired, you'll see this name pop up again in 6 years on the list. So we have this broad area of rotation that's happening. And so what Mike was mentioning is he's here in Corpus. They might get a few of these showers, but he's kind of waiting for this bigger band to rotate into Corpus, which will take a little bit of time. As he's waiting for that, you'll see some of this coastal erosion, the water coming up a little bit just with that onshore push, because the storm is moving in this direction. So you've got that movement, and then the winds are also coming around. So that's why the east side of the storm, remember, here's the low, and it's traveling in that direction. This would be the east side of the storm is the worst because you have the storm direction and the flow around it, and that's why it's always worse there on that right-hand side of the storm. That could push the water up a little 1 to 3 feet, but as Bettis was mentioning, we're not anticipating too many issues with that surge and that push of water. Showers will start to clear as we head really kind of into the evening hours here along the coast. Maybe a few streamers still coming on in, but as we head into tomorrow morning, it's West Texas where we will see the rain continue. Otherwise, a closer look down 37, Alice, all the way down into Brownsville, McAllen, Laredo. Laredo will see the heavier showers after school here around 2 p.m. But they will even pull out of us as we head into the evening hours. So you can sleep quietly here into eastern portions of South Texas. This afternoon, some of these thunderstorms could fire up, bringing severe weather, also the threat for tornadoes for us, and then flooding with our rainfall rates. Bettis showed you just that one squall coming through, how they had some standing water on the ground. Now, granted, if the drain he was showing us had been cleaned out, would the water still be standing there? I can't say exactly, but the point being is when these come in, they come in fast, and it's about the rainfall rate coming an inch or maybe an inch or more an hour and going over the same areas repeatedly. That could cause some flooding. Waves obviously are going to be kicking up. This is not the time to be in the ocean. Just wait till tomorrow. If you had plans to be in the ocean, see if you can just kind of switch it around, because tomorrow you'll be good to go here and you shouldn't have really any issues. But we do have that rip current risk for a big part of the coast for us here, and you want to make sure that you stay out of the water. And, you know, I know, Jordan, everyone's so tempted when there's a storm coming in to kind of check it out. Just check it out outside the water.
Right. I mean, especially with how hot it's been.
Public schools will release students early from all schools for the rest of the week due to the heat. So check your local schools for new release times. It's all compliments of this high pressure. This thing is what caused Hillary to go into California. It's what's caused Harold to go into Texas. And it is what is giving us advisories from the south to the upper Midwest to Colorado, all the way over here into West Virginia. It is serious. It's actually record setting, this high pressure, and it is going to set records as well. But we're just talking the strength of it is record setting. And look at our numbers here. You're going back to 2014 in Wichita. We could break our record by 8 degrees. That is insane. And going all the way back to the 30s and 40s, we could break records that have been standing for over 70 years in some places. And we could break a record by 4 degrees, not 2 degrees, not 1 degree, 4 degrees. So let's look at the actual numbers. And remember, this is in the shade. And when we show you the heat advisories, that's also in the shade. So in the direct sunlight, it's going to feel even hotter than this. Kansas City. I mean, 9, 10 in the morning. It's feeling like it's 96 degrees. It's just outrageous. This is your heat index through the day. We say above 100. Even by 8 p.m. when the sun starts slowly going down, you're still feeling like it's above 100. But it doesn't stop there. We will see this in numerous cities, and that means that heat cramps, heat exhaustion, heat stroke is even possible if you're outside. Tomorrow, more of it, pushing into Chicago, Indianapolis as well. And we will see more records set. Again, not just set, they will be crushed, Jim, with our high temperatures.
Steph feels like 91.
We are tracking newly minted Tropical Storm Harold this morning on America's Morning Headquarters. Tropical storm warning stretches nearly 200 miles along the Texas Gulf Coast. From Port O'Connor to the mouth of the Rio Grande, the primary threat will be flooding with widespread rainfall. We could see 3 to 5+ inches of rain and isolated higher amounts. Wind speeds also could peak out, perhaps 50, even 60 miles an hour, taking down trees, power lines, and again, pushing that water on shore. So you could see a little bit of coastal flooding with that. Let's go to Jim Cantori to talk more details, because, Jim, this is just a snapshot of this system.
Yeah, it looks like
Tropical Storm Harold tracking towards the South Texas coast, where some of the bands blasted meteorologist Mike Bettis earlier this morning. Glasses sometimes out there, or goggles in the field.
Yeah, but that popped up on him while he was on the air. Yeah. That's what hurt. So Mike Bettis, inquiring minds want to know if you found your hat, and when you did find it, if that's in fact the hat, did you tighten it up a little bit?
Well, see, so it's kind of
the wall there, and earlier we did see some of the waves actually crashing into that wall, giving a little spray over them, perhaps.
Yeah, a little bit. You know, the water's going to be.
Mike Bettis, we appreciate that report. And Mike probably going to get some of the worst weather coming in as we get through the next few hours through lunchtime and then into the early afternoon. And it was kind of nice to see that new Carhartt jacket beating up like that with that Gore-Tex, right?
It looked
looking really good. We can't wait to try those out ourselves. Well, let's hope we don't try them out anytime soon. I want to focus in a little bit on Franklin and something that's not even on the map through here. First of all, Franklin looking a little ragged this morning.
Yeah, getting sheared. This is the center of circulation. All the thunderstorms getting pushed off to the south.
Even some rain down toward Aruba, which is really interesting because that's a pretty dry area. Here's your visible, Abrams. What do you see?
I've been asking for it all morning. I mean, you can see it's trying to get those bursts of convection, but it's just not going to be able to get it around the center, which is what you need for these things to develop stronger.
No, well, is this the center?
I couldn't even see that over there. Yeah, it's possible.
I mean, do we have now something that's completely decoupled?
Yeah.
And that may play a role in this as we go forward. So we're going to have to figure that all out. And obviously the Hurricane Center will as well. The shear that Steph talked about from the north, but the tropical storm warnings are posted for all the Dominican here and as well as Haiti.
Yeah, because it is expected to go over Hispaniola and then continue out into the Atlantic here. And then the question is, where does it go from there? And that's what Jim wants to do.
So this is Wednesday. It's going to come north. But then it's going to stop, all right, because there's nothing to steer it. We know that happens, right? So you've got two choices. The subtropical builds in from the east and pushes it west, and you wait for the next trough to potentially pick it up, which it looks like right now it will, and keep it off the East Coast. But that's today as we're talking to you. That could change. So here, again, is Franklin's vorticity or spin. You can see that and also intensifying. This is going to be a hurricane. Could be a major. But also notice what the models are doing, the European especially, not so much the GFS. Bringing this little thing up near the Yucatan, and even the European ensemble members say, hey, something could go here early next week. If it's on the east side, Steph, it may come north. If it's farther west, it may get driven and keep it over land. But this will be an area to watch because it's so close to home.
And we're also getting deeper into hurricane season, and so you got to really watch for these things to pop up. We're going to head back out to Mike Bettis coming up. Be out there kind of coming out to check out the scene this morning?
Not really. I mean, we've had like 2 or 3 people.
All right, Mike Bettis, we really appreciate your reports and showing us around. You showed us so many different aspects of this storm out there, and we really appreciate that. Speaking of warmth, the high pressure that pushed that system across the Gulf and into Texas is actually giving us a lot of warmth. It is firmly planted in the center of the country. Look at the advisories stretching from the Gulf to the Great Lakes, from Colorado all the way over to West Virginia. It is going to be record-setting hot. Notice that we are going to be breaking records from the 30s, even the 40s. These have been standing over 70 years, and we'll break it by 4 degrees perhaps. Usually it's 1 or 2 degrees. We're going to break it by 4 degrees. Highs today in the triple digits, 99 in Minneapolis, but it's going to feel like it's in the 1-teens in a lot of places, maybe even the 120s. And remember, this is in the shade. That is not in the direct sunlight. It'll feel even hotter. Tomorrow, we get more of the same. Chicago, we jump into those kind of 1-teen range for us. Nashville, 102. Even Atlanta, Mobile. I mean, it's basically going to be the same in Mobile and Chicago. That humidity will get you. We're not used to it in a lot of these spots. So tomorrow, more record-setting temperatures for us here. Record-tying temperatures from the 80s. Records that have been standing 40 years in New Orleans. And look how it will expand as we head over the next several days. This is everyone at 95 degrees and above. Notice that it comes on into the Central Valley here of California as we start to wrap up the work week. As we do wrap up the work week, some of us will get some cooler air in place, but that's right through the northern tier. Not everyone's going to get the cool off. Widespread record highs. Everywhere you see a dot. That is a lot of dots on the map. That's through our Friday. St. Louis, we are part of the party that does get that cool off here as we head into our weekend back down towards average. But before that, this is what it'll say on the temperature. Throw in the humidity, and it's going to feel much worse than that. New Orleans, we don't get much of a break. Our average high is 91. We're known for the heat and humidity. The problem is if you're visiting there or haven't gone in a while, it really can wear you out, and you have a hard time with it. And this heat is going to last through the beginning of September, at least through the center of the country. The Northeast, even down into North Carolina, we might have some cooler temperatures that come in for us because of the way that everything is just kind of cooling us off there into the Northeast quadrant. We have continuing coverage of tropical